Every excuse we make is a carefully crafted lie that we tell ourselves to feel comfortable in our inaction. It doesn't shout, it whispers, it disguises itself as logic, as reason, as safety. It tells you you're not ready, or it's not the right time. It's the voice that says, I would have, but I couldn't, or maybe tomorrow. That voice is not your friend. That voice is the enemy, and it's stealing your future from you, one excuse at a time. Excuses are clever. They come dressed in all the right words. They make you feel justified for staying in your comfort zone. They make you feel like avoiding the hard path is the smart decision, but that's the trap. Because while you're rationalizing your delay, someone else is pushing through theirs. While you're explaining why you can't start, someone else is starting with nothing. While you're waiting for the perfect time, someone is creating results in the most imperfect of situations. The truth that people don't want to admit is this: you're not held back by your lack of money, your education, your family, your circumstances, or your pain. You are held back by your excuses about all of those things. We've all seen people who came from nothing and built empires. We've seen single mothers who raised children and became leaders. We've seen disabled individuals become champions. We've seen kids from broken homes become legends, and every one of them had a mountain of excuses they could have leaned on. But they didn't. They looked at those excuses and said, no, not me, not today. That's the fire you need to tap into. The moment you feel an excuse creeping in, burn it, because the longer you let it stay, the more it rots your ambition from the inside. It doesn't seem dangerous in the moment. You'll say, I'll try again tomorrow, but tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year, and then one day, you wake up with a head full of regrets and a heart full of what-ifs. Excuses rob you silently. They don't storm in like a thief, they drip like poison. The reason excuses are so powerful is because they often contain a grain of truth. Maybe you really are tired. Maybe you really do have less than others. Maybe you did have a hard past. But here's the thing, the truth isn't an excuse, it's just your starting point. It's the baseline, not the barrier. You can acknowledge your pain without letting it become your prison. You can be honest about your disadvantages without being defined by them. The world will always hand you reasons to quit. The question is, are you going to take them? There is nothing noble about playing small. There is nothing heroic about hiding behind a story that keeps you average. Life is brutal to everyone at some point. But only a few people turn that pain into power, and they do it not because they had better chances, but because they made a better choice. They chose to stop listening to their excuses. They chose to listen to their inner fire instead. Excuses are the language of fear. And fear will always tell you to play it safe. Don't try, don't risk it, don't dream too big, don't step outside the lines. But the problem is, everything you want is outside of those lines. Your dream doesn't live where you're comfortable. It lives in the unknown, in the chaos, in the discomfort. It lives in early mornings, long nights, and lonely hours. It lives where excuses die. So if you want to find that dream, you're going to have to be willing to sacrifice your excuses. Burn them, set them on fire, and use the heat to move forward. And yes, it's hard. No one said burning your excuses would be easy. But neither is staying the same. Neither is watching others succeed while you stand still. Neither is knowing deep down that you were meant for more, but you never chased it because you were too afraid. Regret is heavier than discipline, and excuses are the weight that keep you shackled to a life you were never meant to settle for. Every time you feel an excuse forming, I want you to ask yourself a question: who benefits if I believe this? Is it my future? Is it my family? Is it my purpose? No, the only thing that benefits is your fear. Your fear feeds on excuses. It grows stronger every time you say, I can't, but every time you say, I will anyway, fear loses power. You starve it, and slowly that excuse no longer feels like truth. It starts to feel like the lie it always was. Burning your excuses doesn't mean you don't face difficulty. It means you face it anyway. It means you choose courage over comfort. It means you hold yourself accountable, even when no one's watching. That's what builds strength. That's what builds character. That's what builds legacy. Think about the people you admire, the ones who have achieved greatness. Do you think they didn't have excuses? Of course they did, but they didn't serve them. They didn't bow to them. They burned them, and in that fire, they forged something greater. You can too, so the next time your mind offers you a reason not to try, not to work, not to fight, don't entertain it. Don't play with it, burn it, because the future doesn't belong to the ones who make the best excuses. It belongs to the ones who refuse to make any. Now ask yourself this: how many dreams have died because of your excuses? How many chances have passed because you let fear sound reasonable? How much longer are you willing to let your story be written by your doubts instead of your decisions? Burn the excuses, burn the fear, burn the delay, because the life you're capable of living is on the other side of that fire. And the only thing standing between you and that life is the lie you keep telling yourself. Stop telling it. Stop listening. Start becoming today, not later, not someday, right now. Burn the excuses and let that fire become your fuel. Winners don't succeed because they have it easier. They win because they make a decision, a hard, painful, irreversible decision to commit. They burn the bridges behind them. They eliminate the exit signs. They remove the option of quitting. When you remove the option of turning back, you force yourself to move forward. And that's what separates the ones who talk from the ones who do. Losers build excuses like safety nets. Winners build fires out of those excuses and fuel their rise with the ashes. When you look at someone who's successful, who's admired, who's unstoppable, it's easy to think they had advantages you didn't. But what they really had was the courage to kill off every excuse that told them they couldn't. They didn't have a fallback. They didn't have a maybe if it works. They said, this is it. I'm all in. I win, or I learn. I rise, or I climb again. And that mindset is what transformed them. When you commit fully, when you burn the idea of quitting, something inside you wakes up. It's like flipping a switch. The old you that hesitated, that doubted, that looked for the easy way, dies, and the new version of you. That version doesn't need a guarantee, it just needs a reason. You don't get to have the dream and the excuse at the same time. You can't say you want it, but then only move when it's easy. Life doesn't reward wishers, it rewards warriors. And warriors don't keep backup plans, they don't tiptoe into their goals, they charge into them like everything depends on it, because to them it does. They've burned their bridges, they've cut off the lifelines that would let them escape, because they know, deep down, success only shows up for the ones who refuse to leave without it. Excuses are like bricks. Every time you make one, you're laying another block in the wall that separates you from your potential. Losers build castles out of those bricks. They surround themselves with comfort, justification, and stories about why it didn't work. Winners take those same bricks and smash them to pieces. They break down every excuse, every limitation, every lie, and they walk through the wreckage bloody if they must to get what they came for. Think about the mindset of someone who wins. They don't ask, what if it goes wrong? They ask, what if I never try? They don't ask, what if I fail? They ask, what if I succeed beyond belief? They don't see challenges as signals to quit. They see them as tests. Every problem is an opportunity to show who they really are. Every setback is a step in the story they're writing. They're not afraid to fail because failure is just feedback. But quitting, that's not even an option because they burned that option a long time ago. Burning the bridge doesn't mean being reckless. It means being relentless. It means deciding that this goal, this dream, this mission, it matters more than your fear, more than your comfort, more than your ego. It means betting on yourself with everything you've got and saying, if I fall, I'll learn how to fly on the way down. That's how winners move. They don't just chase their goals, they demand them. They work like they're running out of time, because in many ways they are. Every day you wait is a day you never get back. People who lose often have all the right reasons. They're too busy. They're too tired. They weren't born into the right family. They didn't have the resources. But here's the truth. Someone out there had less than you and still made it. Someone out there had more pain, more setbacks, more betrayal, and still turned it all into power. You can either become a victim of your story or the hero of it. But you can't be both. Heroes don't look for sympathy. They look for strength. They don't make excuses. They make progress. The moment you choose to burn your excuses, everything shifts. You start showing up differently. You stop waiting for motivation and start living with discipline. You stop hoping and start executing. You stop trying to be perfect and start being powerful. You realize that you don't need all the answers, you just need the guts to start. Imagine you're on an island, and the only way to survive is to build something incredible. Behind you is a bridge that leads back to your old life, easy, familiar, and average. But if you burn that bridge, there's no way back. Now you have to build, you have to fight, you have to rise. That pressure, that's what forges champions. That fire, that's what refines your purpose. But if you leave that bridge standing, you'll always look over your shoulder. You'll always wonder, what if I just went back? You'll always have one foot out of the game, and you can't win if you're halfway in. This is the choice winners make. They don't give themselves an escape. They burn the bridge and then get to work like their life depends on it, because their real life does. The life where they're powerful, fulfilled, fearless. That version of life is waiting on the other side of total commitment. So, what are you waiting for? Permission, validation, a sign. This is your sign. This is your wake-up call. If you want the life only a few ever experience, you have to do what only a few are willing to do. You have to go all in. You have to cut off the exit. You have to burn the bridge. You have to say, no matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it gets, I'm not going back. I'm not stopping. I'm not making another excuse. And then you do the work. You stay in the fire. You build the discipline. You embrace the grind, because eventually the grind rewards you. The pain teaches you, the struggle strengthens you, and one day you look back at that bridge you burned and you thank yourself for not walking back across it. You thank yourself for standing firm. You thank yourself for being the kind of person who doesn't just talk about winning, but actually wins. That's the difference. Winners burn bridges, losers build excuses. Which one will you be? Your excuses are not harmless. They are not just words or passing thoughts. They are silent killers. They are destroying your future one moment, one missed opportunity, one delayed decision at a time. Every time you say, I'll do it later, a part of your future fades. Every time you say, it's not the right time, a door closes that might never open again. Your excuses are not protecting you, they are paralyzing you, and the worst part is, you probably don't even see it happening. It's slow, it's subtle, but it's real. Your future is being murdered in silence by the excuses you keep allowing. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or potential. They fail because they keep waiting for the perfect time, waiting to feel motivated, waiting until it's easier, waiting for the fear to go away. And in that waiting, they kill momentum. They kill passion, they kill the dream, because here's the brutal truth: the perfect time will never come. Life will never line up just right. You will never feel completely ready, that moment you're waiting for. It doesn't exist, and the longer you wait for it, the more your excuses tighten their grip around your goals. Excuses give you temporary relief, but permanent regret. In the moment, saying I can't might feel like a relief. You don't have to face the hard thing. You don't have to stretch yourself, but that comfort is expensive. Because every excuse comes with a cost. The cost is your progress. The cost is your growth. The cost is the life you could have lived, the one filled with achievement, pride, and power. You don't feel the cost right away, but you will feel it. One day, you'll wake up and realize years have gone by, and you are still in the same place, stuck in the same loop, haunted by the same dreams you never chased. You might think, but I have valid reasons, real things holding me back, and maybe you do, maybe you've faced pain. Maybe life hasn't been fair, maybe you're tired, but you have to decide what's more important, protecting your excuse or protecting your destiny. Because you can't do both. You either rise above what's holding you back, or you allow it to define you. And if you allow it to define you, then you're choosing to stay small. You're choosing to sacrifice everything you could become for the sake of comfort. Your future self is screaming for you to stop, to wake up, to move. That version of you who has what you dream about, that version doesn't make excuses. That version shows up every day, no matter how they feel. That version pushes through fear, through rejection, through setbacks, because they know what's at stake. They know that making excuses is easy, but living with regret is brutal. You weren't born to be average. You weren't created to play small. You weren't put on this earth to survive. You were made to thrive. But you cannot thrive if you keep feeding yourself lies. Excuses are lies. Lies about what you can't do. Lies about why you're not ready. Lies about why it's too late or too hard or too risky. And every time you believe those lies, you shrink. You take your fire and you put it out with doubt, and the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Until one day, you don't even remember what it feels like to truly try. Success requires brutal honesty with yourself. It demands that you call yourself out, that you stop sugarcoating your laziness, your fear, your procrastination. It takes strength to admit, I've been making excuses, I've been lying to myself, I've been avoiding the hard truth. But that's where change begins, in the mirror, in that raw moment of self-awareness where you finally stop blaming everything and start owning your life. The people who rise, the people who build something extraordinary, they're not perfect, they're just committed. They decided, once and for all, that they were done making excuses. They stopped waiting for things to change and started changing themselves. And yes, it was hard, and yes, it took time. But they never gave up their power by giving in to excuses. And because of that, they reached places most people only dream of. You have to choose, excuses or excellence. You can't have both. Excellence requires you to do things you don't feel like doing, to show up on the days you want to quit. To keep going when no one's watching. Excuses let you off the hook. They tell you it's okay, not today. But excellence says, get up, get better, do the work. And that voice, the voice of excellence, will build a future you'll be proud of. The voice of excuses, that one will bury you in mediocrity. Imagine a version of your life where you didn't make excuses, where you acted every time you felt fear, where you pushed through resistance, where you faced failure and kept going. What would that life look like? What would you have built by now? Who would you have become? That version of your life is possible, but it requires a decision. A decision to stop feeding the weakness. A decision to start feeding the strength. This is the turning point. This is the moment where you stop telling yourself the same old story. The story about why you can't, why you're not ready, why it's not your time. Burn that story, write a new one, one where you rise, one where you overcome, one where your fire is louder than your fear. The pen is in your hand, and every excuse is trying to pull it away. Don't let it. Your future doesn't need excuses. It needs action. It needs focus. It needs you, the real you, the one who's willing to face discomfort and still move forward. The one who's willing to fail and still stand up. The one who's willing to fight for a better life instead of explaining why they don't have it. So the next time you feel an excuse coming on, catch it, expose it, don't give it power, remind yourself what's at stake. Your dreams, your future, your purpose. Don't let a weak excuse steal a strong future. Not anymore. Not ever again. Kill the excuse, save the future. Inside every person is a a burning desire to become more, to do more, to live fully. But for most, that fire never becomes a flame. It gets buried beneath fear, comfort, laziness, and most of all, excuses. But that fire doesn't die, it waits. It waits for the moment you finally decide that you're done playing small. It waits for the moment when you stop looking for permission and start chasing purpose. That moment is when everything changes, when you choose to burn your excuses and use that fire to light up the path forward. The truth is, excuses are just dead weight. They do nothing but slow you down. They keep you stuck in one place, spinning the same story over and over. But the second you set them on fire, you ignite something far more powerful. You tap into momentum, into progress, into clarity. When you burn the excuses, you're no longer focused on what you can't do. You start focusing on what you must do. You start thinking like a leader, like a warrior, like someone who is not going to let circumstances dictate their destiny. You will never achieve greatness by avoiding discomfort. The path to anything worthwhile is not a smooth road. It's messy, it's painful, and it's unpredictable. That's why so many people never reach the destination. They look at the path and say it's too hard, but that's where they're wrong. It's not the path that's too hard, it's their mindset that's too soft. You can have all the motivation in the world, but if you keep making excuses every time things get tough, you'll never build anything that lasts. That's why you have to burn those excuses before they burn your dreams. When you commit to this mindset, your whole life begins to shift. You stop waiting for things to get easier and start preparing yourself to get stronger. You stop blaming others and take full ownership of where you are and where you're going. You stop retreating at the first sign of resistance and start charging through it with grit. That's what burning the excuses does. It eliminates the escape route. It forces you to become the kind of person who keeps going when everything screams at you to stop. Lighting up the path ahead means choosing action over analysis. Most people get stuck overthinking. They want a perfect plan, a guaranteed outcome, a safe bet. But life doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards bold moves. When you stop giving your excuses attention, you free up energy to take action. Real action, action that moves the needle, that changes your reality, that brings your goals closer. Every step forward builds confidence. Every small win adds fuel to your fire. And before you know it, you're no longer hoping for change, you're creating it. There's something powerful about living with this kind of intention. You wake up with a sense of purpose. You no longer hit the snooze button because you know your mission can't wait. You no longer scroll for hours or binge distractions because you understand that your time is the most valuable currency you have. When you light up the path with purpose, your vision becomes clear. You know what matters and what doesn't. You become laser focused on your goals, and everything else starts to fade into the background. But make no mistake, the world will still try to hand you excuses. It'll tell you you're too old, too young, too busy, too broke, too broken. It'll point to your past and say, this is why you can't succeed. But here's what you need to know. That's not truth, that's noise. And you don't owe noise your attention. You owe your future your focus. You owe your goals your discipline. You owe your dream everything you've got. So the question becomes, how bad do you want it? Are you willing to do what others won't? Are you willing to burn the story that keeps you small so you can live a life that's anything but? The fire you need to build your dream isn't outside of you, it's already inside. You just have to uncover it. And that starts by burning away everything that dims it: excuses, doubt, procrastination, fear. Let it all burn. Because in that fire, the real you emerges, the version of you that doesn't settle, that doesn't compromise, that doesn't make decisions based on fear. That version is capable of more than you can imagine, but you'll never meet them if you keep hiding behind the same tired excuses. And don't expect people to understand your journey. When you start walking that lit-up path, When you start taking your life seriously, some people will fall away. Some will mock you, some will try to pull you back. That's okay, not everyone's meant to come with you. This path is not for the weak, it's for the ones who are done playing safe. It's for the ones who would rather fail chasing greatness than succeed at being average. So, let them doubt, let them talk. While they waste their energy judging, you'll be using yours building. There's freedom on the other side of burning excuses. There's peace in knowing that you're giving your best every single day. There's power in becoming someone who doesn't fold when things get hard, and there's fulfillment in chasing a dream that sets your soul on fire. That's what this is really about, becoming the version of you that you were always meant to be, the one who walks with purpose, the one who leads with conviction, the one who doesn't look for the easy way, but for the right way. So today, make the decision, burn the excuses, all of them, burn the I'm tired, burn the I don't know how, burn the what if I fail, burn the it's too late. Burn the idea that you're not good enough, and let the flames light up a new path, one filled with courage, clarity, and momentum. Because the truth is, the only thing standing between you and everything you've ever wanted isn't your ability. It's not your background, it's not your resources, it's not even your past. It's the excuse you're still holding on to. Let it go, let it burn, and walk boldly into the life you know you were born to build.